Greetings and welcome. I am Joffrey, and today I'm joined by Vector Maximus and Darkest Light. Uh, no thumbnail off the rip today. I'll have to make it in post because I had a big old game I wanted to play earlier. But today we are going to be talking about subjects and overlords. And depending on how long we take, because I would like to read some of the comments, because it keeps seeming that we miss gems in the rough, and I need people to comment and say, "Oh, Joff man, Mr. Bald man, uh, you missed this. Johan confirmed this thing," and I'm like, "Oh no, I missed it. It's all ogre now." Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what we can get to. What was this? Saffron? What the heck? Why does he keep saying saffron? I'm I'm scared. But subject and overlords. It's something I have been very curious about. I've been waiting to see this explained, how they properly work, because subject interactions, different types of subjects. They mentioned in an earlier Tinto talk, for example, that the march, you were going to be able to unlock the ability to make a march by choosing to focus diplomacy at the beginning of the game, in the first age. So, well, that raises questions. Can only those people get marches? Do you get marches later in the game instead, otherwise? How many unique types of vassal types are there? But that's enough rambling about the things I'm thinking about, and instead we shall move on to what we know. Because apparently Dark says something I'll like is in here, which is nice. He says I like it a lot. Hmm. Potential spice split hinted at in the HRE map review from Monday. Oh? Hmm. Hmm. Really? A potential spice split. Very curious. Well, we'll have to take a look at that. Yes. You know what's good? You're sitting, your modder legs might give up after you read some stuff in here. Is that so? Is is that so, Mr. Nathaniel Claw? We'll see. We'll see. Hmm. In Project Caesar, as it starts at the end of the medieval era and reaches into the post-Napoleonic world, we have the system that works for feudal states and also for grand empires spanning the world. This is simulated by our subject system. A subject is any country that is subordinate to an overlord. It typically has limitations on its diplomacy in return for protection in war. Subjects may also suffer subject taxation. Yes, I certainly hope so. And have a certain percentage of their great power score exacted by their overlord. Oh, so they leech some of it off. That's kind of interesting. Additionally, a subject Additionally, a subject may not become a great power. The exact rules are dependent on the subject type. Subjects have subject loyalty towards their overlord and a liberty desire. That's normal, yes, both of which indicate their current stance on their subordination. Any subject may in turn be the overlord of other countries. Yes, yes, I do love allowing long chains of subject overlord relationships. I do love my Mayo and Taxes games where you have Baron Straubing, I believe, ruling the Netherlands, who are who have Hainaut as a vassal, who are in a personal union. They're leading a personal union with no, yeah, and it keeps going. The point is, it keeps going down the chain. Um, hmm. Oh, not my modder legs. I need those to mod. You're right. I don't know what I'll do if those give out on me. Oh. Yeah, going on adventures. Yeah, yes, yes, Cornwall going to Vietnam, I'm sure. I am sure, Evie. Yes, yes, I wish you the best of luck, of course. As always with your Cornish adventures. So basically, a subject is like Joffrey. To us, completely beholden to the almighty chat. Is that so? Hmm. Oh gosh. Um. Well, I don't know. The other day I was while playing Ann Benar, I did make a poll, and then hmm, I didn't do what the poll said I should do anyway. So, feudal empire, local overlords. Yes, yes. Can't wait to see how many different subject types a single country can become. I'm also curious about creating subjects because I know that they have implied that you can press a button and make a subject.
Yeah, they talk about it.
All right, that's good. That's good. All right.
Just subtle hint, Joffrey. There will be answers. Maybe read before speculation.
I just want to tell the chat what I'm thinking of France before. An overlord is a country that has any number of subjects as its subordinates. In return for protecting each subject in wars, it typically receives subject taxation. Yes, yes, yes. Subject loyalty. Every subject has a subject loyalty ranging from 0 to 100. Yes. It's the normal EU4 disloyal subject. Yes, as long as you have less than 50 liberty desire. It When it is in such a state, oh, when it's disloyal, a country will no longer join the wars of its overlord and cannot be annexed. They don't join the wars. Oh. So it's no longer a case of they join the war and they just don't like do anything. So they just sit there. They just straight up don't join the fight. That's interesting. But that has curious implications for like what to, hmm. I don't know.
I'm assuming it's so that, um, just thinking about kind of hard coded functionality, it's so that a disloyal vassal is not called into the war. Thus, when you're already at war, they can declare independence because
Yes.
you can't. I'm pretty sure in EU4 you can't declare independence when you're at war on the same side as your overlord. And this was also a pretty classic way of keeping them from being able to declare independence until you had their liberty desire down.
That's
Because
the
when you're
timber.
at war, you can't support um, foreign rivals couldn't support their liberty and stuff like that. So
Yeah, it's the timbered strat where your vassals all hate you, but if you just keep declaring wars on outside countries, they'll never rebel, and you just keep it going until you're able to annex one of them.
Well, in that case, this is a very good system. I'm glad that this is the case. It also helps with the issue of if you have a disloyal subject on the border with an enemy, that disloyal subject will still be taking the brunt of the damage, and as a result, often become more loyal because they are harmed.
my meat shields.
In this case, your meat shields, Vector, oh, they will still be doing just as well. You won't have any armies damaging their duchies. If you're playing as France and you have a disloyal Orleans, or some such thing, um, enemy armies will march through their lands, probably, yeah, but they won't do battle in the place. So they might take your food, but they won't be causing damage. In fact, they might even get a population boost as people flee from the devastated lands around. Who knows? Um, so, interesting things to think about in that way. Can't declare an independence war against your overlord in EU4 if you're on the same side in a war. Yes, yes. And you automatically join all of your overlord's wars. So, yes. Oh, they might not even get access. That is a good point. I would not be surprised if a disloyal vassal would be capable of shutting their overlord out of their territory, but I also don't think that will be the case. I think that you'll probably be able to move through disloyal vassals' lands because they have no legal way to bar you entry, if that makes sense. But it's like them not joining your wars is something they can more easily do than literally stop you, their boss, from going through what is technically their lands. Subject loyalty. Also read that. Oh yes, the second paragraph. There is also the concept of liberty desire. Oh, so subject loyalty is a new thing in addition to liberty desire. Which represents a subject's current drive for independence, and it affects the subject's loyalty, and its value goes from minus 100 to plus 100, and has a monthly decay towards 0. So it wants to go to the median of 0. The value is also used as a currency in some subject interactions. Okay, I can see that. I like that. Yeah, and that's a separate thing that always trends towards the middle, unless you. I'm sure there's ways that influence be like, oh, decrease the expected liberty desire, or maybe if you have maybe if they have a different religion, or their culture is not accepted by you or something, maybe it goes lower. So who knows? But in any case, oh, here will be some modifiers, as Vector as always says. Yes, their subject loyalty. Yes. If I read on, I will have my questions answered. Power relative to Overlord. So they're not very powerful at all. Surprise, surprise. Brittany's not very strong compared to France, so they're more loyal because they're weak, and they have a good opinion of France. And base value for every country, plus 10. Currently loyal as subject loyalty is at least 50. So this is the opposite of what we're used to. It's a case of it's measuring. It's not like because yeah, as of now in EU4 you've got liberty desire, and if it goes above 50%, that's the problem. But now liberty desire is a different thing, and what we're looking at here is specifically how loyal they are. So you actually want the number to be higher. You know, before we were playing golf. Now we're playing literally any other sport. So they can be loyal but still want liberty if you have other bonuses to loyalty. Yes, yes, that's exactly what it seems like. And if you have and you've got that resource of liberty, the subject loyalty resource that you'll spend on various things. I'm sure you get random pulse events that will happen. You get to decide what you want to do with them. Uh, Different culture groups and different religions will probably trend negative. Yeah, I'd imagine so as well. I don't know about the distance from capital. Actually,
I could see distance from border, perhaps. I don't think it would be like distance from capital, because that would defeat the entire purpose of spitting out vassals, because you want them to handle the local administration. Because that was one of the things Johan has repeatedly brought up as a good use for vassals, is because what's it called? You can't administer effectively because of the administrative burden. Local control, that's what it is. Control gets exponentially harder, particularly early on the farther you are from the capital. So he's repeatedly brought up vassals as a good way of addressing that. You know, you have this region at the end of your empire where you have zero control because it's just so far away, there's not the infrastructure to meaningfully control it or extract stuff. So you pop out a vassal. Well, if that vassal is going to be completely disloyal because it's the same distance from the capital, that kind of defeats the whole point. So I don't think that's going to be how it'll work.
I would not. I figure that I feel like it's the United States syndrome, where someone very far away from your borders, as you put it. And actually, no, it couldn't be borders, because remember, you could have like a single tile that you own in like the New World right next to your colonial subject. So it couldn't be like borders. It would have to be capital. And I would not be surprised if they have a way of somehow calculating how far away they are from you, how much out of your control they are, and the farther away from your control, the more they're but what is the thing? Because we've got subject loyalty. Yeah, liberty desire This is the thing. I don't think that distance from the capital, like their distance from you, would impact your just loyalty specifically. But I bet that it would affect liberty desire. So your average colony that's far away from Europe is going to have a much higher liberty desire, and as a result, be much less easy to mess with. More because like the way this liberty desire seems to be is that it is a system where it determines how much you can push your weight around with a subject before they become disloyal. And I bet that this is a case where, as I'm describing it as, it's the United States situation where it's really far away and they would have a higher, desire for autonomy as a result. So pushing and shoving, if you impress too many soldiers, you tax too many things, then now they feel like they're going to be disloyal as a result. That's where I'm. Ugh,
How
rant.
dare you tax our tea?
Yeah. Did they not in the last Tinto talk have the Boston Tea Party as the image of it? Hmm. Depending on the numbers, it could still be distance. Just need to start impacting further away. Yeah, could be. I mean that's a classic thing in like Total War games. Distance from capital slowly ramping up. But in any case, this is a very vague concept that is not especially important. There's much more relevant things I'm sure to be discussing here than this. The Bretons are loyal for now. I have been eagerly looking for more information on diplomatic capacity. I relish this chance. As we mentioned in earlier Tinto talks, the cost of having a subject is not a fixed number as in previous games we have made. Previous games in the series, maybe? Like the last game in the series, maybe? Is that what you're looking for, maybe? Uh, but it depends on many factors, including the type of subject. Ooh, okay. The type of subject changes it. I wonder what's a really cheap. What's like the cheapest type of subject you can have then? Maybe they'll go into the math, but
I assume it'd be something like a tributary where they're only very loosely tied to your country, but they're mostly independent in most affairs.
yeah, because they're not telling us what the types of subjects are here. They're just vassals, but they're not telling us what types specifically. Oh, wait. No, a vassal probably is the type because it says subject type. So the vassal isn't just the
Yeah,
catch-all term for subjects.
yeah. The vassal is the bog standard basic
Mhm.
subject type.
I also love diplomatic capacity, Rasak. Yes, it is a fantastic concept, and I cannot believe that when we first started getting Tinto talks, they were debating using it. They were debating whether they should have it or whether they were just going to have the flat just number of people you can have diplomatic
No,
relations with.
it was a capacity system, I believe, but it was just like 1, 2, 3, 4, which is just Diplo slots by a different flavor of the
Exactly.
month.
But this way, oh, this is fantastic because it even in this case changes like the amount of I imagine that Flanders is a vassal. If you have other like continuous actions upkept with Flanders, it probably increases the capacity that's being used. For example, um, I don't know what it would be, but like I imagine if you're France and you're allied to the Spain, um, well, Aragon at this point, the alliance would cost you some diplomatic capacity, and then other things would follow. But I don't know. And it's not especially important, but it's just the concept that depending on on various factors, is subject type, relative income, size of navies, country rank of subject. Oh, that's interesting. If you subjugate the Byzantine Empire, it's going to be very expensive to upkeep it. You could potentially even have government types in there, other stuff. Maybe that's true. I imagine it would probably be quite easy to even if it's not as of now in. I'm sure that it would be quite easy to mod in a government type that is cheaper to have as a subject. Have they said if you can have a banking country as a subject? You can. You can have you can have landless countries, the building based countries as subjects. Um, I don't. We haven't seen any specific examples of it, but it has been said that you can declare war on them and vassalize them, but it has not been said. It's not been shown. Yeah, everything but societies of pop. No, 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 no. You can vassalize societies of pops too, Rasak. In fact, Novgorod has like 4 societies of pops that are subjects at game start. And by subjects, tributaries. Yeah, literally any type of country can be a vassal. Or, well, subject. Um, why would you? They can't build walls. Fuck you, Eric. Fuck you.
One day in the distant future, when Joffrey is asked why he committed all those massacres, what made him finally snap, he'll just reply, "It was the walls."
What's the
No
walls?
Blackfoot. No Blackfoot.
The Blackfoot can't build walls. Blackfoot can't build walls. Oh, oh, oh no. Oh. Listen, why would you need to build walls when the buffalo just run off a cliff on their own, man? Every mechanic is connected. Do you have any idea how many buffalo jumps there are in this province? It is unreal. Every mechanic is connected. That is yeah, that's a very I normally give CK3 thumbs up for the way that they do their DLC stuff, but it's like I mean, Legends no. Legends is not interconnected at all. But by and large, this is seeming like they're trying more of what they've been doing in general with CK3 in general, because you have stuff like Legends, which is not connected to anything and it's useless and no one uses it or likes it. It has no point and it's incredibly difficult to mod and it's really tedious and everyone just like shush. But every time we learn more about EU5, it seems ever more like they are focusing on laying a really wide, strong foundation that they can build on later. I really hope that once they do release the game, this is the case, and that, of course, once that post-release content starts to come out, that it continues to expand upon the base and build up. Give us those free updates that expand the foundation of the game and the paid content that builds the pyramid up. That's what we like. And there is an antagonism modifier, yes. Sneak peek. Contrast to EU4, in which so much feels like leftover from DLCs that were forgotten. Indeed. And Johan even says so himself at this point. I do.
It's also kind of a thing CK3 is doing. Or it feels like some of the mechanics don't tie in. Legends, Royal Courts. Tournaments are great, but they don't tie into anything outside of tournaments. You need more interconnectivity between mechanics.
Forget there's different timelines in EU4? What are you talking about?
Timelines?
Different start dates. Different start dates.
Oh, yes, 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 the start dates. That's true. That was a huge waste of effort.
There's a reason Paradox isn't bothering with them anymore, really.
Well, they are bothering with them in CK, but that game is actually useful because it's a, it's an RP game primarily. I wouldn't mind the ability to change start dates in mods. Like if someone's modding, maybe they could add start dates. I wouldn't do it.
We've already mentioned that that's doable.
Okay. I wouldn't make any, but someone could.
So we need the canon path for Kiangal.
No. I mean, no.
True, we need multiple start dates.
No, because then Drac would be sad. Drac would be sad because he wouldn't like what happens to his country.
Are. We get to pick the canon winners.
One of the few things that's probably the closest thing to canon is that his country does not do well. Alright. Continuing along, though. Diplomatic capacity is 5 due to base of 1, good. And then your rank isn't... So kingdom's tier 3. So you have a base of 1, and then once you become... Because there's county, duchy, kingdom. So county doesn't get any extra. Duchy gives you 1, and then kingdom 2. So then presumably empire is a 3rd. Or maybe they jump the gun and they're just like, oh, maybe it's actually doubling every time. Yes, the random new world. Yeah. Meanwhile, Fraxis went start date. Sounds like a good idea, and then chopped Civ 7 into 3 pieces. Dear God, Eric being a savage right now.
I heard about that. I didn't realize that it almost was a soft reset each age, and I did not like that.
Yeah, it's basically a different game every age.
Oh, interesting. I haven't followed anything Civ 7 related.
Civ 7 is best described by me. I feel it's best described as a game that is very interesting. Full stop.
Yes, the traditional North American Central Plains use of the word interesting. When we have nothing nice to say.
You know?
I don't like the changing civs bit just because I liked the whole concept of having your civilization survive the test of time. And that is no longer an option.
We need a deluge of Poland-Lithuania start date. Drac would love it, I'm certain. Yes. Yes. Drac would love it. Yes, of course.
2 start dates, 1337 and the partition of Poland.
That's what we see. But Dark, we already have Poland being partitioned in the normal start date already. Like it's already having its civil war. So.
Oh, I meant vanilla.
I know. So I'm just saying that we got that covered. We don't vanilla needs it, but we already have it. So you can only reinvent Civ so many times. It's true. It's true.
Whoa! Look at that. We can see that France has +1 dip capacity. That's surely great, right? Right. Also, outward societal value +10. Jesus Christ.
10%.
They.
Percent.
Oh, okay. Your mouse was right on top of it. I'm like
plus
10. Holy.
10. Plus 10.00.
If you want to have subjects, you gotta go touch grass.
Sorry, man.
I was about to say, Jesus Christ, the rest doesn't even matter.
Now, mind you, they this is used for lots of other things, but I'm definitely gonna. I don't remember. Okay, no, I think Inward's terrible. I don't remember liking Inward at all. I think it gives you
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's stability and cultural tradition, which is the defensive culture thing, the thing that stops your culture from being converted, which is I don't fucking care. And instead, outward is the one that gives you the cultural offense and more societal, more
Your culture is offensive to mine.
Yes. So therefore, it will be removed. And Vector is now playing Legend of Heroes Trails to Azure. He's changed to a different one now. He's making his way through the series. Glorious. I don't mind. Oh, gosh. No. We're not continuing the Civ conversation now.
There is no escape. Just like there is no escaping Edelgard discourse, for the next 3 years there will be nothing but Civ 7 discourse in the grand strategy game sphere.
Fucking Edelgard discourse. Why did you have to say that?
Because just when you think you've escaped Edelgard discourse, it returns.
Don't worry. We'll discuss Civ 7 when we do our inevitable Civ 1 live stream.
Vector, when I played Three Houses, I did everything possible to annoy my girlfriend at the time because I knew she hated Edelgard, but I didn't know why. So I did her route first, and then in the end, I chose to put the ring on my own finger just to annoy her. It was beautiful. Because she told me, like, if you're gonna do that route, you may as well go all in. And like, okay, no, debated. But oh, and then Rasak with the quote. He's the goat, the quote goat. That's what you are, Rasak. You're the quote goat now. Yeah. An inward country will have a higher crown power, higher control, faster cultural tradition, but the colonial migration will be very slow.
Not bad. Higher control isn't bad. There was one that was really bad.
It's not stability, huh? Takes 2 seconds to look it up. What did you type in? What did you look up to find it? 2 seconds? 2 seconds on ChatGPT? What did you type? What did you do? Is there
probably went to like it probably went to the thread with all of the threads linked in it and then clicked there.
Was there a specific Tinto talk that explained what all of them do?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that would help. I almost want to look now, but no. We got other stuff to talk about. So yes, France is slightly
relative size of navies. I actually just realized.
Oh, that's a good point.
Huge fleet.
Yeah, Flanders has big boat.
Britannia.
No, Flanders does not have big boat. That's why it's so cheap.
Yeah, relative size of navies.
Oh no! I got that wrong. I think I got that backwards. That increased the cost, so they have a big fleet, but no army.
But by implication, again, you can reverse that and have a really fucking massive fleet and small army and subjugate everybody.
All 5K of my troops will maintain this 30K troop vassal because I have 100 boats.
Does this mean that if you have a vassal who is landlocked, they're easier to maintain?
I feel like it shouldn't count navies if they're landlocked.
But then, does that mean that you want to make... When you make a vassal, you want to give them coastal land just enough so that
give them one port so that they count as having a possible navy.
I feel like there's
only one port.
For that reason, they will just make it apply across the board, but we'll see what they do. Or it's possible that they might just do a check. Do they have armies? If so, compare. Do they have navies? If so, compare.
And then why is this number red? This should be a good thing.
Apparently, yeah. This is Johan talked about this in one of the comments. They'll change it to be more clear.
All right. But the one thing I wanted to say before moving along is also the fact that you are a mere 0.46 over the limit, and that already is giving you almost an entire -1 Diplo rep, and then a whole 10% of whatever this antagonism is. Loyalty of subjects down 11, and monthly prestige penalized. This is bad. This is really bad. You do not want this.
Do not overstretch the state.
So, as a percent, it's not just a little. Yeah, that's a big deal. Whatever this antagonism thing is, it's a percentage. So I don't know. That's not good. Maybe antagonism is like the replacement for the aggressive expansion thing. because they haven't explained to us how that works yet. And I suspect that the fact that they've changed the name and they haven't talked about it yet means that they're really trying to to hone in on a way to make aggressive expansion and coalitions more dynamic than just um if negative 50 opinion from aggressive expansion, then mad, then they fight you. So, creating new subjects. Oh boy. Oh boy. If you have locations in more than 2 different provinces, you'll always have the possibility to create a subject of one of your provinces. You can also select them from the valid type of subject that your country can have in that province. After you have selected the type of subject you want, you may, if the type allows it, also pick the character to be the ruler of the new subject. And there are also ways to convince your subject to change from one type to another, where it would be valid. So, depending on the type of territory, it's like select from the valid types of subjects that your country can have in that province. This implies that there are some types of subjects that are only valid in certain areas. Um, and
The eternal snowball.
you will have a list just of the different types that you could make. And you can choose the person to put in charge depending on the type. So you might be able to look at your family tree, and you want to create a subject, so you put your cousin in charge of some goon cave in the Pyrenees. EU5 might be the only PDX game where playing a big, strong, big, strong nation as your learning experience with all the stuff might be so overwhelming you are speedrunning a collapse. Hmm? Oh, the idea being that if you play as a really big country, you play as a big country like, well, France. If you play as like France or Castile, maybe. Castile's probably a good example. I don't know. Well, there's some way bigger countries.
Yuan is the premier example of this because on paper they should be really strong. But because of all the internal mechanics and systems that are being introduced, if you don't have a firm grip on them, it'll be pretty easy to collapse and have the canonical, if you would, death spiral that Paradox is hoping they fall into so that they'll implode and China becomes more interesting. So
Yes, that is a good explanation of it, where it doesn't need that much in the way of artificial things to just cause the country to fall apart. Hmm. Hmm. And that, as Nathaniel is saying, if you are learning the game by playing such a large country as that, you might just, yeah, be rushing to falling apart. Now, I could also see the point of that with that there's probably other countries like the Golden Horde is probably another example I could imagine as being a country that's really big, and there's probably quite a few in like Mesopotamia, Egypt. That's probably a place where if you're playing, you could fall apart. Who's more likely to defeat their powerful neighbor? Yeah, to the East Ireland or Brittany. Yeah, no. Having a game where there can be collapses that can be rebounded from would be awesome. I'm tired of the steady power creep. Hmm. It's I don't know. I honestly don't know if this is going to be a game or not, where steady power creep will be a thing. I mean, it will be surely. Like, there's no way they could get rid of it. But I'd like to.
Snowball's like impossible to stop.
Yeah, I don't know how you would stop it.
You could limit it in some ways, but that's about it.
Hmm. The goal of the game is to snowball, really? Well, I maybe. Hmm. I mean, that's certainly how EU4 is played. It's the rush to start snowballing.
And then nothing ever halts the snowball.
Yes.
Why the
Except
early game's so damn annoying because you're just restarting to get the best start so you can start the snowball.
And that's why I like multiplayer, because the only thing that can stop a snowball is a potentially bigger snowball.
Hmm. So, Gamalt, what you're saying about it's bad to be that big in the early game and such, and you're saying that yeah, the late game is designed for that. I assume what you're saying is that being really big in the early game is going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult to be really big in the early game because of tech issues, but later on the game will more naturally allow that. I can see that. That is the main thing that has me thinking that snowballing might be difficult to do in this, because if you expand too vastly, your lands will you'll run into the issue of you just not being able to get anything out of your lands, and you're gonna because everything's gonna be disloyal and revolting, and then you're gonna be it's something I want to make a video on. I want to make a video that I record, try and make it 10 minutes or less. I always make it 20, explaining the thought process of the fact that I don't think that snowballing is going to be as bad, but I still think it's going to be possible. But we do need to move along. If I remember to, after this, I will start recording said video after we have done this, or at least script it. Because it's something I've wanted to do, and I haven't done an edited video in a little bit. Being big is irrelevant. At some point, you have zero control of your land, and if you spam vassals, you might just get a gigantic civil war. Yes, that is definitely part of my thoughts on the subject. I do believe that it's going to be difficult to control a very vast amount of land. However, I still think you're going to be able to hamper other people. At least. Yeah. We'll have to see, though. But do need to move along. We're getting bogged down even too much for my taste. All right.
Or
So,
about Flanders.
About Flanders the vassal. Yes. It's his little pawn image. I like that. That's adorable. The most typical type of subject. A vassal oversees its territory on behalf of its overlord, pays vassal fees, and joins the military campaign of its overlord. Almost all countries can make vassal subjects. Ooh, that is quite a few things.
Almost.
All right. Oh, rules. Flanders cannot just decide that they're not a vassal. Yes, annexation progress plus 5 progress each month. Needs to be 10 years. Yeah, that's pretty normal. Need a plus 150 opinion. France, that's a little different. Building rules. France can build resource gathering operations in Flanders locations. Does that mean then that those buildings are France's? Who gets the building? Are they France's RGOs? In Flanders
Well, I can
land?
tell you that the people in Flanders work them, but I do not know.
There'll definitely be people. There'll be Flemish people working them, though they've implied that you assimilate some people when you make a building in someone else's country. You hire local people, and some of the local people get assimilated in to run be the upper management people.
Not always, Risak, because the market, like this could be a Paris market, for example, and then Flanders is in like an Antwerp market, so it might not go to a French-controlled market.
Mm-hmm. Yes. The owner does not change the market. No. In fact, I'm not entirely sure what the owner does determine in the context of something like that. I'm not sure what effects that has. Hmm. Well, in any case, Flanders is limited by France regarding diplomacy. France needs 1.4 diplo capacity to maintain it. Flanders gives France food access, so France gets to eat food in Flanders land when they move armies through. And France will always join they will always join both the offensive and defensive wars of France. Benefits for the overlord. France gets a little bit of prestige. Flanders spreads 20% embraced institutions to Paris. Huh. That's interesting. And Flanders pays 6 gold each month to France. So, based on that number of the 6 gold a month to France, I think the economy scale we're working on is a little higher than EU4's. I think the numbers are a bit bigger.
Yes, inflation has struck.
Because that's a very large number. Feel like you like the implication that we can have other modifiers as benefits there. Yes, I'm very. What happens if you have a holy order as a vassal? What happens if you have a banking country as a vassal? What does a march do differently? What does you having a march do to you, the overlord? What a normal vassal type does to the vassal is gives them 5% more efficient cabinet, and France gives back some of its embraced institutions to them as well. Interesting. Yeah, even late game, some late game EU4 buildings don't give that much. Yeah, yeah, 6 gold is an insane amount by early game EU4 standards.
They're about to list a bunch of ones that you can make. So
Oh yes, I see fiefdom. Delightful. So a fiefdom is a junior title that is the property of the overlord's ruler, and it can only be created and maintained by a monarchy. There are some drawbacks to it, as it cannot be created by diplomatic offers and does not grant any prestige. Cannot be created.
So King of Middle of Nowhere Shire becomes Duke of Bumfuckville, basically.
You can't uh be like, oh, offer vassalization. Will you become my fief? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't look at your vassal or march and ask, will you become a fief now? You have to make something as a fief, and that's the only way to get it.
Yep.
These are probably very easy to maintain by comparison.
Since it's essentially the ultimate form of personal union, because it's just a bit of your own country you've carved off that still has your monarch as its ruler.
Yes. I bet that this is probably the absolute best, like the most efficient way if you're trying to blob, that if you're playing a monarchy, you just create fiefs to control all this extra land that you're grabbing. You just shit out fiefs. That's probably what you do here. Good for that new low control land you take. Yeah, yeah. You think fiefs are what the... So, I don't know what that means. Oh,
Those
spare
are
heirs get.
no, those are appanages because fiefs, as they mention, are ruled by the monarch of the
Yeah.
original country, so it wouldn't go to spares.
A march is a subject country focused on defending our domain, acting as a barrier between the overlord and external threats. A march pays half the gold that a vassal does, and cannot be annexed. But the march gets a discipline boost, and gets better lasting forts that are also cheaper. Delightful. Simple and effective. Colonial nation is a big one for me. I'm very curious about this one. A colonial nation is a subject centered around the administration of overseas colonies on behalf of its overlord. There are two ways to create a colonial nation. First of all, you can make one from conquered overseas territory. But secondly, and most commonly, you have the option to create one directly from when one of your colonial charters finishes. A colonial nation gives up to 33% of its trade capacity and trade advantage to their overlord, while also giving up 10% of their manpower and sailors, and pays 20% of their tax to the overlord. Alright, alright. So a colonial nation at base gives up a ton of its resources, like without any other modifications. We don't know if there's other ways that this gets modified, but I imagine there probably is, because this is at minimum. There's probably ways that you can affect this with like the concept of mercantilism, to force them to give you even more. Perhaps, I don't know. But the fact that they give up 33% of their trade capacity and trade advantage to the overlord is a big deal, because that means that if you have a colonial nation that completely controls a market. Like you're conquering the Caribbean. You've colonized Cuba, and there is a market in the region, and basically the only power of note in that region is this colonial nation at this point. So they have almost all of the trade advantage in the area. The overlord now gets to reach in and grab 33%. They've got 33% of that country's capacity for actually moving goods, and a bunch of the advantage to help pull the goods out back to the home country at a baseline without any other modifications. That's pretty handy. Wonder if it can be modified. Like the Principality of Wales is a fief. The prince is technically in charge, but it's functional. They've mentioned that Wales is like that there's a Prince of Wales at game start, so maybe it is. Yeah. But also the fact that you can create these from overseas territories is curious to me, because this implies that you could, as England, turn parts of France and just the European mainland that you control into a colonial subject, which is curious if you want to be focused on the economy, and maybe you do. Maybe you do want to like have it be focused on trade. I don't know.
This is the moment, Joffrey. This is what I said you would really like.
Conquistadors are the leaders of a private army who have signed contracts with the rulers to explore and conquer certain territories in exchange for the title of governor and a share of the new lands and spoils. Oh my god, there's so much. Oh my god, there's so... Oh my god, there's so much. This is a unique type of subject that is only available to Catholic countries with the capital in Iberia, and this advance available in the Age of Discovery.
That's easy to fix with in the mod.
A conquistador can be commissioned by selecting an area in America and then a character to lead them. It will also require about 2,000 manpower and some gold to start. It will start with preparing in a nearby good port. Preparing to construct a conquistador. Requirements to available. Yeah, it is constructing just like any other construction or like an expedition. And you the needs of the goods, and it's waiting for all the goods to be acquired and then constructed. Just a few months, and then it's conquest of paradise.
Keep going. Go on.
After the conquistador has gathered enough resources for their expedition, they will set sail, and you will hear from them in the next from them the next time in a few months' time, informing you that they have started their activities. Okay. Conquistador has arrived, and yeah, it's saying there's the dude and image in the background. Okay, there's his flag presumably, and then yeah. Let's see what we can find. This spawns an army-based country in a location in the area, starting with about 2 regiments of conquistadors. They start at war with the owner of the location where they spawn, and will automatically conquer any location they get control over. They also have the capacity to raise levies from the local people, even if it's from a non-accepted culture. If they manage to get to peace or get enough locations, they will convert into a colonial nation of yours. Some other unique subject types we'll go into detail on when we talk about countries that can use them in a tinto flavor, including appanages, state banks, Hanseatic members, and more.
Oh, what are your thoughts on the conquistadors, Joffrey?
Who was it that was in the stream and was fucking with me earlier? Someone was in my Gorbarad game. Who was it? Who was it that was in my Gorbarad stream and was telling me that it was boring today, and they were asking me? Who? Someone showed up in that stream. I forget who it was now, but someone showed up and they were like, Joffrey, early thoughts on the Tinto Talk? Question mark? Oh, you haven't read it yet? Oh, I won't spoil it for you. I thought it was quite boring. Whoever that was, I don't remember who you are, but you know who you are. Oh my goodness. Oh. Oh. Oh, this is something, all right. Oh. What? What? Oh
Venturing
my.
companies, perhaps?
Yes, adventuring companies, perhaps. Oh my god. Yo. Laventia's gonna be sending sending adventuring companies into the basin. Lots of people are gonna be sending companies in there. All sorts of companies of adventurers. There's gonna be people going into the caves. There's gonna be dwarves going on mining expeditions. Dude. What the hell?
I don't know how this affects unowned land, because it says it declares war on the owner of the target.
Yes.
So if you target
Yes.
land with no owner, I don't know how it works, and they don't seem to mention it. At least not in this post. They might in the comments, but I haven't read the comment.
This is you explore and conquer certain territories in exchange for the title of governor, share the new land and spoils. So yeah, you send them out, and they explore territory. So they help you explore and they'll conquer. Theoretically, you can't do this to target uncolonized land. You can't do it to target societies of pops because they need to be a settled people, seemingly. Smart guy killed my expectations for me just to get them kicked back to the maximum height. Yeah, yeah, they did. Whoever that was, is a smart guy, I guess. Few number changes, location changes, events after forming their nation, endless potential. Yeah, there's a lot of potential for this sort of thing for sure. Huh. I'm sure there's ways that you could cause specific, predefined conquistadors to appear. I'm sure that you could decide like press this button and it creates this specific conquistador. Um, if we can start to play as the conquistador, let's start to play. I don't. The not building based, army based. It's an army based country. Importantly, I I am not. Hot Pocket is trying to get me with all the Alberta talk. You should be quiet. I'm in my happy place right now. Penzer, I am hesitant to suspect that they would settle stuff that is uncolonized, but maybe. I doubt it, but maybe. This. Oh gosh. Yeah, the thing, Dark, is we need to find a way to because this is like has to be something that's like, oh, you've got naval range to reach, I'm sure. So we'd need to tweak stuff to allow you to do it first of all over land and against stuff you aren't touching. Or maybe you couldn't have people. I don't know. Well, we'll have to see, but this is very good. In any case, this is a very, very good sign. We were, Dark and I were just talking the other day about how we would want, how we could potentially handle groups of adventurers that are roaming around locations trying to conquer lands. Um, and this still doesn't guarantee that you could have because mind you, this has the gameplay of this conquistador automatically declares war on someone, so they automatically will start with an objective. They'll show up and they're gonna fight. So that's what their army is gonna be doing. I assume that this wouldn't be so simple if you have like an army based country that is like not at war with someone and just moving around. That's probably not the same though. I just don't know. Hmm. Probably could make an event for the origin nation to auto start it even. Yes. Yes. I would definitely like to create, yeah, it would be something where um yeah, the creating nation would automatically hmm. Maybe there's yeah, maybe we will be able to. I would certainly like it if we could, as Gamalt is talking about, when you create a conquistador, swap over to them. That would definitely be appealing. Uh, Generally excited about these systems because just think. I don't see. This is already like EU5 is yoinking a ton of inspiration from Mayo and Taxes. So I don't know if there'd be a Mayo and Taxes version of this, but we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? Honestly. Hmm. Wonder if it's limited to South America or if you can do it in Asia. It said certain regions.
It said Americas. It said Americas somewhere.
Selecting an area in America and then a character to
Yeah.
lead them.
But that sounds like something that's pretty moddable.
Of course. Oh yeah, you just change what the area is defined as. That would be beyond simple.
Area, Earth.
Area the entire map. Though, can you imagine if you're playing late game and you just, oh god. There could be situations here where if you make it the whole planet, you just have like throughout the whole game, motherfuckers just randomly sending 2K stacks at you. Well, this is limited. Yeah, Penzor. This is limited to specifically conquistadors. Yeah. It would need to be modded to create such expeditions, but I'm sure that if you were playing as a Catholic Holy Order playing in Europe, you could decide to on your own go and invade the cursed pagans. Yes. Native gameplay gonna be the peak of patience training. Get hit with 90% lethality bullshit disease and then get bullied by conquistador spam. 90% of your population dies and then 2k dudes just rock up and instantly start yoinking all of your land just by occupying it. They occupy your land and instantly just have it now and start raising levies from your already like decimated population. Oh God. A normal army-based nation probably functions in a similar way, and this is just a way of spawning them with the added subject thing. Yeah, yes, of course. The like hordes are said to be army-based countries as well. There are quite a few settled countries in South America, yeah. There's quite a few people that could be potentially targeted. And the amount of land they own is only going to become larger by the time that you show up a century after game start. After all, yes, all the fucking navy-based countries. Give me the navy-based countries. But yeah, there's like a century between there's over a century between the start date and when people are going to be properly showing up in the new world. So that's a ton of time for the native countries to expand and societies of pops to potentially start to settle. I don't know. We just don't know enough about how that works, but we know that societies of pops can sometimes settle once they get the tech. Gonna be honest, if you're in an MP as the Aztec and someone drops conquistadors while I'm still fighting the Great Dying, I'm ending our friendship. Yeah, dude. If Spain rocks up and sends 2k shit stack at you after you've had your whole population just die, there is no forgiveness. There is no light. End of them. This is the end of the friendship for sure. But then again, if you're playing in an MP with people and someone is playing the Aztecs and another person is playing Spain, dude, the Aztec player better have some good help. Easy way to filter out real friends. That's true. It's true. Worse than getting beat in Smash is having your friend drop 2k conquistadors on you while you're in the middle of the Great Dying. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Gosh, this is great. This is a good. I am very pleased. I am immeasurably happy. This is a very good. Well, now I need to add another. I need to add another thing to my list of things to make a video on. gonna take a couple notes real quick there. I just played EU5. Lost my girlfriend because she dropped conquistadors on me. Yeah, exactly. Good for you, bro. Nathaniel, you seem like a man who respects himself. Don't be disrespected like that in being with a
Wait,
girl who will drop.
a woman playing EU5? That would never happen.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I hadn't considered this fact.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You sure it's not just a femboy? Because they play EU5.
Lots.
They really seem to play more Hoi 4 than anything else, though.
Yes. I don't know, something about guns and thigh highs at the same time, man. I don't know. Playing as an overlord. Several types of subjects allow the overlord to annex the subject. Annexation is when an overlord completely takes over one of its subjects. The overlord will gain all the subject's own locations, and any character not fleeing to other countries. Oh, that's funny to imagine you're annexing a vassal, and then the Lord of Schittsburg just like, no, I must flee. They're going to kill me. It's what the ruler of Avdal Laudum should have done in the game earlier today. A disloyal subject cannot be annexed, though, and the cost of annexation depends on the amount of cities and towns that a subject has, with rural locations having less of an impact. Annexing Kingdom of Scania. Fiefdom. Interesting. It's considered a kingdom, but it's a fief. It's a kingdom tier fief. Huh. I kind of just I don't know. I kind of just assumed that fiefs would be limited to counties. Whatever. But being a fief theoretically makes it faster because that two is an odd number for the baseline, so I imagine it's higher speed. And a town is a little more difficult to annex than a rural settlement. Yeah, it is a tiny kingdom, that is for sure. Yeah, same with Brittany. I think Brittany's a kingdom as well. Less than 30 years should be worth it. I wonder if there's any cost. It hasn't said anything about having a cost. Like, does it require money, or is it literally just time? I'm gonna assume that it's just time, and oh, wait, that's interesting.
I'm
Cultural.
gonna need to be heading out real quick. I'm getting a call to come do something with my dad. So
Okay. Bye bye. Thank you, Victor.
good night.
Right, so a town is costing 66. I did 12 divided by 600. That means the rural settlements cost 50.
That makes sense. Yeah. I imagine a city's probably going to be jumped up to 100 if they're trying to keep it nice and even. Because 66.66 feels like that feels like they're going to go to 100 next.
No, if it goes from 50 to 66, it could very well then go to 75. Or it could go to 80. 88.88.
No, but I wanted to
Didn't
end in
think about
100.
that one, did you?
I wanted to
Cope.
be 100, so
Cope.
maybe I will.
Well,
But It's interesting to me that the cultural influence versus cultural tradition is an impact here for annexation speed. Um, the cultural defense makes someone annex slower. There are also plenty of different subject. Oh, good, good, good. There are plenty of different subject interactions, like giving locations or provinces to your subjects, taking land, manpower, gold, or sailors from them, and much more. Subject actions. Access. Yeah, I like the icons here. Those are really nice to help see at a glance what's going on. Let's see. Uh, I do like how it brings up sailors. I must steal all the sailors from my colonial nations.
Sailor.
There's. Oh, change to fiefdom status. You cannot do this. Wait, but I thought that wouldn't be possible, but I don't know. Maybe the whatever. Cancel status, of course. So this is you. This is you. Okay, yeah. Demanding stuff from them. I'm curious where. Oh, yeah, return. No, the seized territory is you taking stuff. Okay, seized territory, return land. I don't know specifics of what that would be, but seeding location and seeding province. This is you giving them stuff, and that's why it's right up at the top. Yeah, good, good. I like. And then there's plenty of other things that are pretty expected. Demand additional tribute. Yeah, it sounds like a pretty standard thing. Along with divert trade, those are pretty standard, I imagine, for things that would increase the liberty desire. Place relative on throne is something I enjoy doing in EU4, and imagine that it's going to be more interesting with the fact that dynasties are going to be a thing. You'll be able to look at a family tree. So if you want to place a relative on a throne of something, of one of your vassals, you need to actually click on the place relative on throne button and then choose which person it is. Playing as a subject. If you play as a country that is a subject, you have a few tools at your disposal. First of all, there are two different cabinet actions you can use. Okay. You can frustrate annexation. This action uses the administrative ability of the ruler and the cabinet member assigned to the task of slowing down annexation. By hindering their delegates with an archaic constitutional legislature and obstructing them at every turn, we can increase the amount of time it will take for our overlord to annex us. Sow disloyalty, and this action uses the diplomatic ability of the ruler and the cabinet member assigned to the task to reduce the loyalty to your overlord. By spreading cruel rumors about your overlord and espousing the benefits of ruling ourselves, we can decrease our own subject loyalty, potentially becoming a disloyal subject. And then we don't have to join their wars. Yay! Skills of sowing disloyalty. So the ruler's diplomacy, yep, and then from the actual the type the minister who's doing it. Yep. Crown power affects it as well, as it does with most things. Yeah. Royal marriage rights is interesting. And then the vassal subject type is making it more efficient. That's funny, because being a vassal makes your cabinet more efficient. The oldest tactic on earth, filibustering, indeed. France wants to incorporate the Flemish into their proper kingdom, the rest of the kingdom, and the Flemish nobles just I don't know, man. Sorry, just due to this ancient law, due to this one ancient law, the fact that you did not, in fact, show up 15 minutes early to our designated meeting means that you will not be able to get these documents for another 15 days. I'm sorry. You need to wait until the new moon, and we will have to remake the entire document now. I just didn't get your letters.
True.
Ah, yes, because you Lord keeps sending letters and you don't reply, and then they finally send someone in person and say, "Why aren't you responding?" "Oh, sorry, I didn't receive them. I don't know. Something must have happened. Please send it again." Yes. Out of ink. I'm out of ink. Sorry, I just. The trade routes are just being really hampered. I can't. It won't be until next week that I get any more ink, so I can't possibly write any more letters. Maybe I need a better cabinet member to sow the dissent. Yes. And if you want to become independent, there are two ways to do it. First of all, there is the classic option of just declaring war on your overlord, but that is often not entirely a good idea, especially if you have a tax base of about 1% of your powerful overlord. Yes. However, the other option in Project Caesar is to start an independence movement. This is somewhat similar to a coalition in that it is an international organization with a target country. You can invite others to join it, including other subjects of the same overlord, and when you have gathered enough strength in your movement, often securing the backing of another powerful country, you can start the war and have a chance at liberty. Hmm. And next week they talk about weather and natural disasters. Oh boy. Oh boy. How is it? There's almost always something I'm excited for. It's always just like, oh, next week it's like something I never even considered. It's like, oh, of course. We're going to learn about how sandstorms work. I really wanted to learn about sandstorms. Because, well, when we were talking about climates, I remember it's thanks to that Tinto Talk podcast on climates and terrain types that uh, we've added a place that has glass in glass storms in a desert to our setting, and there's a couple places now that we want to have some very unique types of weather. So I'm very much hoping to see how moddable the different weather stuff will be because I want to make all sorts of different types of storms. EU5 does keep winning. Yes, it does.
EU5 stay winning.
It stay winning. Yes, I am.
Now all we need to do is convince them to let people or let estates spend money in places with high control.
I mean, the more I think about it, honestly, the if estates could do that. Okay, well, estates spending money in those places spend it primarily for themselves, right?
My
The bonuses they get,
issue.
it's not like just a second. So the things that estates spend money on is almost always things that are just beneficial to them. Yeah, it's not usually stuff that benefits you.
They can have some secondary benefits that affect you. For example, it could be like a fort
Yeah,
that will help you during war, but it also increases the noble's power.
yeah. So I
Or a church
figure
that educates, but it increases the clergy's power.
I figure that because that sort of thing is a focus, they're trying to make up a bunch of these buildings that the estates will make that primarily benefit themselves. Because of that, I like the idea of places that don't have a lot of control giving the estates money to build in those areas specifically. stuff like that. So they'll build a lot more of those things and then be even harder to uproot later. I like that because it can have some secondary benefits. So there is a cost benefit, but primarily it becomes a case of if you expand too much, it's another case of you have expanded a ton and now you are having troubles reining in all this land later on because you've had to go so wide and you have so little control over it and the estates get more established there.
Yes, and if nothing is being built in those high control states, or low control states, I guess, high autonomy, low control states, then you're just gonna build everything in like the provinces around your capital and nowhere else.
I mean, that's
Because it's more efficient in places where you have more control. Because since you have more control, you get more money out of it. So why would you ever build anything anywhere else? Except for at most maybe trade
don't
advantage.
don't tell anyone this, Dark, but this is the reason that Alberta doesn't like Ontario, cause they don't build stuff here.
True, true, true. See, then we wouldn't have a British Columbia or Vancouver because it's so far away. It would have low control, so that
Hmm,
means it would be impossible for anything to be built up there.
that is a good point, actually. Now I think about it. Um,
Why would you ever build anything in Bordeaux or Marseille when instead you could just build up Paris and probably Normandy instead because it's closer than Bordeaux?
yes, Nathaniel, your entire vassal swarm turning on you is in fact diabolical, and that is the best description I think I could have. I could not have come up with a better one myself. Diabolical is having, sorry, the Orleans independence movement has reached its peak, and all the vassals are demanding rights.
Hon,
Uh,
hon, hon.
but you make vassals in low control areas, and they will build stuff. Yes, this is true. You can do that, and probably should. I I kinda hmm. Uh, I think I still like the idea of the estates building shit, like getting a lot of wealth from the lands that you don't have control in. But I can see what they're going for in the fact that the places that you have control in are places that is like your whole country's control. So like the estates are considered a part of your country, and if you don't have good control in a place, then the estates don't have control there because the nobles that control land in that area, for example, are not considered nobles that are within your sphere. But at the same time, the fact that that money disappears into the ether and nothing's done with it feels very wrong. And I feel that you should be that you should. I the fact that yes, Risak, you can make control buildings and you can decide to make a vassal and then the vassal can control stuff. Part of me, I think at the end of the day, likes what they're doing more here with the fact that honestly I could go either way. It's more a case I could go either way because if lands that you don't control much gives the estates more power, then the estates build a bunch of things there that make it more difficult for you to control it later. That's a downside, and there's the it's like, well, it gives them more power, but they're still making use of the money. Um, but if the wealth is wasted, then it becomes a case of all that wealth is going into the ether, and all of like it's just being gobbled up by entities that I am not involved in. There's just nobles and wealthy merchants, peasants that are just not even, they don't even understand that they're in my country. And as a result, I either need to hard focus down trying to secure control over the area to bring the people in line, or I need to set up a vassal that can manage the area in my stead to so that the place can be developed. And I figure that that is another case of something that helps to stop the snowballing, because you if it did get used by the estates to build stuff there, even though it would be like, might not be the best what they're building, it causes some penalties. Uh, it would still be overall good for you because they would still build like RGOs and stuff. And I don't think that you should be allowed to get something. I don't think you should be able to get something out of having land that is at the far flung edge of your realm with zero control. And if the estates are still going to build stuff there, then you are going to get something out of it. That's my rant about that. Hmm. You can't get everything you need from around your capital either. There are resources you need from afar. Well, yeah, I suppose the bad control also leads to bad market attraction. That's also true.
Also,
Hmm.
I just got back, and yes, there are the English and French crowns didn't, but the point is that your estates, your noble estate, would. It makes sense for nobles to develop their own lands. And like I said,
Ah.
for France, that example, Bordeaux and Marseille.
Dark, did you say you were leaving?
No, I didn't.
So,
I did the dark thing again.
so I had a very impassioned, thoughtful conversation with myself then for the past few minutes. All right.
Ah, cool. Oh, you're welcome. Thumbs up.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up. I heard everything you said.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be there for you, Joffrey, when you need me.
So, yeah, what Hot Pocket is talking about is that even if you don't have yeah, if you, even if you don't have good control in a place, you're still going to want to invest in a place and work. Um, you'll want to invest in it anyway if you need more of the silk, any of like the resource it has. Even if you don't have good control over it, if it's in your market. But
Not necessarily. You'd get very little of that silk, and you'd have almost no trade in any regions where it's being built if you build it, for example, outside your primary market because of all the control. Well, lack of control.
France is definitely a good example. Hot Pockets, yes, of a country where you really should focus developing around the capital at the start, especially since you have so many vassals, and that's not going to change anytime soon. It's more for AI. What's more for AI? Oh, hmm. The fact that the AI can't comprehend stuff about like wanting to develop its core lands more, or what do you mean? You actually worry that AI would spread development out too much and be weaker for it, low control land? Hmm, maybe, maybe. But I'm sure it's not that hard to convince the AI to be like, well, here's your weighting of this is land you own, and be like, you have bad control here, but this is a highly developed area with lots of population, so you need to build a bailiff here and get some good roads. Um, but yeah, players will always be better at fixing that sort of thing because the AI is not going to be able to think in depth enough about such complex things like that. I part as a part of the passionate conversation I was having with myself, Dark, was the fact that um while I can go either way on the subject of whether the estates should make use of the resources in the areas that you have bad control in or not, I the way that they're explaining it is that the control, I can understand, I can appreciate it because of the way that they're describing it as the lands that you have bad control in, the wealth that is lost due to low control um, is not going to your estates or you, because the estates that you interact with are the estates of your realm, and the places, the wealth that is lost to low control is people outside of your sphere. So they're not the same nobles that are showing up when you call a diet. So
That
while
that does not make any sense because when you call a diet, nobles, at least in England and France, nobles from all over the country would show up. You can say it's nobles in your local sphere, but that's not how governments worked at that time.
yeah, and you'd have control in places all over your realm. It doesn't mean that they're going to show up.
Okay, let's see. A good example of this is York in England. York was significantly larger than anything around it until essentially London in the south. And in this game, you'd say it will arguably have far worse control than, for example, something much closer to
Uh,
London.
I imagine York would have much better control than most things around York. York is probably a center of
No, no, no.
control.
York would have better. Would York have better control than lands right next to London?
Not right next to it, no. But it
So why
probably
not develop
emanates.
those lands right next to London instead of York?
You develop York because York has a lot of people, and if you continue to build up the bailiffs and connect better roads to it, then you can make efficient use of the
And
large
that's the problem.
population base.
It makes those lands that have lots of people but aren't next to your capital completely worthless because it will be more efficient to get the 30k in a location next to London working that has a far higher control than it is to get 30k elsewhere working. So you would want to spend your time, at least at the start, getting every single person essentially in as efficient of a location as possible at the start of the game before moving out.
The way that
It essentially
spreading
turns it into a
control,
slowly stretch out from the
that
capital.
what you're describing is something you can't do. The way that you increase control is not something that you can click on an individual
That's not what I'm
location
talking about.
and say that this place is like the all these settlements that are near London are going to just have better control.
They
What
will.
they will because of their proximity to London. So what
That's
you
not what
need
I'm
to
saying,
do,
though. I'm saying you will develop them with buildings to make it more, because those buildings will be more effective in those high control provinces than it would be elsewhere. It is better to get to build buildings in a province with high control in 30k people than it is to give 30k people buildings elsewhere in the country.
I certainly would in any context prefer to build buildings close to my capital than elsewhere. But once you've done that initial development, if you look at a place like York and it has its vast population, I'm sure it will at game start already have a decent control because it certainly will have a bailiff. And they
Yes, but
probably
it will
have
be
roads already as
worse
well.
than the lands directly around London, is what I'm saying. I'm saying that it means that essentially you are going to be putting in all of your money at the start of the game into those lands next to London instead of anywhere else.
Yeah, and you should do that.
And if, okay, here's another even better example. China. China is way too big to have control far away from its capital. However, it still has many, many, many highly developed urban centers all throughout its country. This will encourage you to not touch those highly developed urban centers, except for the ones at Beijing or Nanjing, wherever your capital is.
That is a very compelling argument. The only thing I can say in opposition to the China example is that it's an outlier, and that if you wanted to have a realm that large that you manually made, you'd want to set up vassals. But I can't
Another
say anything.
example
I can't say
are the
anything.
Mamluks or Delhi, big countries that have many urban centers, but that you would be actively encouraged to ignore those urban centers other than the one at your capital. The Mamluks, who cares about Damascus? Just build up the provinces right next to Cairo.
Don't understand. Don't understand how it's worthless still. Those locations still need to provide for goods, for fortifications, supply. Buildings need pops. How would you use the lower population areas used if they don't have enough people? There are also building limits, I believe. Don't think we can actually. York needs things that London needs as well, and locally produced things will be cheaper for those buildings. The pop. Mamluks, you guys are both right. That is fair, yeah. Mamluks have urban centers on coasts, and they will have a lot of good control.
Damascus isn't coastal.
Yeah, Damascus isn't one, but that's why that area is usually a vassal in games, I suppose. But it'll be a question of balance and what the buildings really give the province to the province. Yes, well, I need to bring up the world, as zoomed out as it is. Because the Mamluks, yeah, you have your population centers primarily around the Delta, but you have some along the east coast of the Med. And I feel in those cases, okay, so the way that people in the chat are talking about how we're both right is that we're both arguing for slightly different things. The arguments we're making are based on slightly different things. Because uh your point is that it makes the land useless, and that's a bad thing. And my point is that it makes it worse. The land is bad if you don't have good control. And I think that that's a good thing because it forces you to make it good by getting control to increase and prioritizing the lands that you have good control in where you can, and increasing control where you can when you need it. I think that that's a good thing, and I think that can be done both ways. I think that can be done with there being a system for the wealth to be used in lands that you have low control in, and I think that it is a system that is also done by having the wealth be wasted. It is lost to your country. Now, China is a very good example. Same with the Delhi Sultanate. Those are both very good examples of countries that are rather really, really fucking big. And they have huge population centers all around. And you can't make good use of them if the wealth is being wasted because it doesn't have good control. I would argue that that is less a fault of the concept of the wealth being wasted when you have low control, and is more the fault of the manner that China is being represented. Because of the way that China is being represented as a singular massive tag, when in my eyes, the way that a vassal functions is you should have more vassals around the place here in China to help administer those lands because they're still technically part of the state, just as you have with France. China is represented as a single large block because they are very administratively minded. So you don't have all of these feudal vassals with extra influence, because that's the whole point. The whole reason that France is split up like this and Castile isn't is because of the crown power. Hungary has almost complete authority over its nobility at this point in time. China is just a bunch of bureaucrats, basically. The country doesn't have those strongholds of like, oh, and in this point in time, the Duke of Foxburg decided to not show up to the immortal celestial emperor's meeting because he thought that he had the biggest dick in town. I think that perhaps in China's case here, they are set up to fail, and that they are meant to collapse. If you were playing as China, you would want to make a bunch of vassals to help you administer the lands. And I think that it would be well represented if they were able to have a type of vassal that countries with meritocracy could make. But they kind of already have that niche applied to the fiefs, because the concept of the fief is this really close to the crown area that is held by you, technically, as well, the king. So it already doesn't really, there's less need for something like that, because theoretically, as China, you would be able to just boop, 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 to all the places that you want to still be developed, and have, you would just make them all into fiefs, so that they could be properly administered and have good control.
I feel like this is vastly simplified by just letting local people or local funds go to local development projects. Because the way you're describing it, every country on the map would essentially become an HRE.
Not all vassals can fight each other, but yes, that is a good point. Countries that become too large early game should have vassals. I very strongly believe that. I do not believe a country should get to. I believe that a country the size of Egypt, the Mamluks at this point, are becoming bloated and should be creating vassals. And in fact, I imagine I probably would when playing as them. There's a good chance that I would siphon off lands at the edge of my realm into vassal states for various reasons. I've even said so as Castile when I've looked at the control map. There's a lot of places like Galicia that is far enough away from your control, and the terrain is difficult enough that it's not worth it in my eyes to try and focus on developing that and getting control there. So I would instead create a subject to control it.
But this isn't the edge of the country or a periphery. This is, for example, China.
Yes. We don't have...
It works on a fundamentally different system of governance than in Europe.
And that's part of why I think that it has to be the scapegoat to a degree, and I think that it has to be the exception and not the rule, where things, you need to make sacrifices to make a system that works for the world overall, and leaving out China. But where you need to make something specifically for them. That's why every game always has the China DLC. And I've missed a bunch of chat stuff. Again.
Another example is a potentially resurgent Byzantines.
Mm-hmm. Resurgent Byzantines. They're going to have meritocracy as well. They'll be quite bureaucratic.
They would not work with as a vassal swarm thematically.
And I don't think you do.
So you keep having to make exceptions to the rule.
I don't think the Byzantines need to. I think that China's a bad case. Specifically because of Actually, maybe China wouldn't even be all that bad because of the rivers. But it's such a large area, it would still have to be bad.
But it's still going to be worse than the area around Beijing
Which should be,
because you
but
can say that,
not as
oh,
good.
but Nanjing and I don't remember what it's called, Canton have huge populations that you can take advantage of. This is China. Everywhere has huge populations, so you're just going to pick the areas in the capital and nowhere else, even though that's not how China operated. Because 90 control is still better than 75 control. It is more efficient. You will get more money out of that.
It's
So you would
hot,
choose to develop the 90 over the 75.
hot pocket. What Dark is saying is that in cases like you've got China, where it has a lot of huge population centers, not all of them are close to Beijing. Not all of them are even remotely close to Beijing. And those places are going to have abysmal control. We don't need to have our hands on the game to see that. It's just simply too large of an area. It doesn't matter that it's over sea, because most of them will be over sea and across rivers and such, which will help, but it's going to be abysmal. I highly doubt that anything in the southwest corner of China will be over, like you'll have more than 40%. I highly doubt that. You'll have anything over 40% control in the southwest corner. And because of that, you are not extracting wealth from the area enough to want to put it back. The wealth of those areas that realistically those areas generate wealth and the area gets built up. I still, where Dark and I are differing here is that I think it's okay to represent something like that where China has all of these regions and the regions are still wealthy and they develop by having vassals, because I think that in China I don't know, I don't know, Dark, mind you, I don't know, but
I'm
I
not
assume
saying
that in China at this point in time it's very different, it's very different, but I assume it's not a case of the wealth is all being brought back to the emperor, and then the emperor decides I'm going to distribute the wealth to all of these different regions and say that I want to build a like a new mine in this corner of the realm.
how they described the money in low control areas is that the local populace spends it on little doodads like tables instead of any sort of development whatsoever. They build absolutely no buildings.
Yes.
That is the money just going into the ether.
Yes.
So
And
you accomplish nothing by building in those areas with poor control because you are essentially throwing money away.
and see, we're starting to we got to be careful, otherwise we're going to start going in circles, because the core of our disagreement is it not. So you think it is unacceptable for any place. You do not like that concept at all. That there is such a thing
I
as a
think
place where
money shouldn't just disappear is what I'm saying. I am 100% on board with the further away from the capital, the worse the control is. But I disagree with the fact that the money that you lose from having low control disappears. That money should instead remain essentially in the local area used for any sort of local development.
and what I
It doesn't
feel.
totally disappear, Hot Pocket, because they don't just throw the money out and burn it and spend it on tables. Yes, but that doesn't mean that the areas remained undeveloped. The local areas would build various things like local hospitals, local walls, and all of that. They will never build any of those.
No,
Everything like that is state controlled in this
uh,
game.
Dark. See, what Rasaka is bringing up, the any any smaller highly popped areas will have source control source buildings. We don't know enough about how these buildings that they refer to as bailiffs, they call them bailiffs, work. But we know that there is a type of building that somehow emanates control. And that's what I was bringing up in the context of York, saying that it probably has one of those, or you'd build one. We don't know what it costs. We don't know exactly how it works, but we know that there is if you have an exclave, no connection to your cap, there's no way for you to reach your capital from there at all. You can build this bailiff thing, and somehow that will give you control in the area. We don't know how much. We don't know if it somehow makes it now like 100% control if you have a bailiff there, which I doubt, and would not like if they do. But I imagine, as Risaka is bringing up, that in perhaps I hadn't considered this, perhaps in the context of China, what's going on is they have these bailiff buildings which are emanating more control. And you still, of course, take issue with the fact that insert percentage, whatever percentage, you could have 80% control, and you would still take issue with the fact that that 20% is being lost to the ether. Because you would want that to be used somehow, right?
Yes, as the state, you should be focusing on areas that the state has control in, but that doesn't mean that locals in low control areas should just throw their money away. That's where the core of my issue is coming from. The money just disappearing, because it does not, at least in the real world, disappear like that. Locals will spend it on, for example, local taxes, which are used for local services and development. I.e., like I said, a town making a wall, or making a hospital, or making a new church. That a town will never make those little services or infrastructure because the only person building buildings is the state or the rare few building-based countries. No development can happen anywhere in the country except for where the state chooses it to go. The estate buildings are built in areas that have control.
When he refers to the state, Dark is referring to the state, the estates as well. What he's saying is that these people that are outside of your control still do things with the money, and he takes issue with the fact that the way Paradox is choosing to represent it is that by throwing the money away on just baubles and other such things that you wouldn't represent in game terms. And I agree.
Like, for example, in France, the Duke of Toulouse, for example, probably exists, just not as a subject. He'd probably be represented by the noble estate. Why would the Duke of Toulouse only want to his money, put his personal money into land in Paris and not in his own duchy? The state absolutely would put it into Paris. Why would the noble estates invest it all in lands in Paris and not their own personal domain, like domences?
Well, the various estates aren't going to choose where they build based on control. We don't know how that's going to work yet, but they would have their buildings won't play by the rules of, what the state gets out of them. So I highly doubt that will be happening, but we don't know how, because we don't know the full scope of how estate building happens, but I know that no matter how estate building works, or how like involved it is in regards to, the estates will build all sorts of things. Sometimes they build their own buildings, the noble fort, and sometimes they build an RGO or a fishing port, or try to upgrade something to a town, or build a wall, any number of things like that. It will still be a problem in regards to your thoughts on the matter, because there will still be because they're not getting wealth from the lands you don't control. They don't get any wealth out of that uncontrolled land. And for me, one of the major reasons that, especially honestly, the more we've talked about it, the more I feel like the lands the stuff that is not controlled being lost might be a good thing actively. I might be starting to lean that way more now, because of countries becoming too large. Because if a country becomes, from a gameplay terms specifically, this is a big difference, because your thing is very chiefly from a logic the logic of what's happening is. And for me, it's becoming more of a gameplay term thing of what happens to this money, and the fact that if a country becomes very large and they're not setting up vassal states, or they have too many already, uh, it helps the burden of the bloat of this country from expanding too quickly over lands they can't control. But
So the thing about AI in performance is that Mayu in Taxes has done exactly this.
Yes.
And that's a mod. And I've run Mayu in Taxes in multiplayer before and have had not really any issues. If a mod is capable of doing something like that, this game will certainly would be able to. Because these people won't have to work within the constraints of the existing game. So it is very much possible, I believe. It very much would not necessarily make the game experience worse. Or tedious in any way.
I I I feel, yeah, Rasak. I feel that the more that we're discussing this, I feel that it's less because it's tedious for Paradox to do it, and more from a gameplay purpose that they're doing it. Because I think, as you're talking about, like the estate wealth pool, I think that they are doing it in this way because they don't want it to be a case of weighing the option. Because this was something I think I've shifted my opinion to be more accepting of what they've done here. Whereas initially I was much more, in fact I was right next to Dark on the subject of low control land being, like, lands, the wealth that is lost to low control just being lost to the Aether being a very bad thing. And now I'm thinking that Paradox has probably done it this way because they don't want there to be the case of, do I want to increase my control, or do I want to let the estates manage it for me? Because they want to have the game zero in on the loop of centralize, like spending the entire game trying to centralize your control as much as possible to squeeze out all the efficiency you can from your country. So I don't even think that that's the case. That it's a situation where it's like, oh, there's too many provinces, so they don't want to manage the estate having a large wealth pool that they're spending all this money on. You'd always want more control anywhere for taxes. Yes, theoretically, but the estates having a wealth pool that they could spend stuff on, that they gained wealth from having low control. I think if that was the case, then it wouldn't even be the worst. It would just mean that the estates become more powerful, which, yeah, okay, that's also a downside. Sure, it's a downside. The estates are becoming more powerful because you don't control them as much. But there's also the benefit of, despite you being bloated and this land being not very well controlled, you're still getting all this efficiency. And I think it comes down to either the wealth disappears, either the wealth just disappears, or there is no representation of the more efficient control, meaning that the wealth is being gathered more effectively because it's still going to someone, even if you have bad control, because the estates will get it. If all of that, if you got 60% control in Lyon, and there's that 40% you don't have, and all of that wealth goes to the estates, and those estates will use it on buildings, then that means that they will still be developing that area, and this is what Dark wants. Dark wants them to be doing that, but I'm thinking that if that's still happening, they're still making the buildings and such. They're using this wealth and investing it. Then Does it even matter that you don't have good control there? Why would I want to increase the control? What benefit do I get? I get some more taxes, sure, but the wealth is still being used, so I have no urgency. There's no sense of urgency to get the. I need to get better control because I can always just do that later. The estates will spend it for me anyway. Hmm. But I think even though I'm starting to slide more in towards the direction of liking the wealth just dissipating, I think that the way I would marry the two together, I would the way that I would mesh it would be if you the wealth doesn't all disappear, but it's a percentage. So the estates get an amount, insert percentage here of the wealth that is normally lost from lack of control. Some of that goes to the estates. I think it could that if it was some of it, that could be good. But I definitely wouldn't want it to be all because I do like the concept that having bad infrastructure causes inefficiencies and some wealth is just simply gone and it is not used effectively for one reason or another. Hmm. Because you can, because part of the way that I can justify it in my head as the wealth just going away is the idea. I can see the concept of local people are not being taxed and they're using it to buy things, and those things that they're spending it on isn't always going to be things that are beneficial to the state. Of course, it still raises the issues of, now there are these places that have been developing, but now they're just not going to. But no, nothing like this is ever easy. They've made a lot of very good choices so far with EU5, but there's always going to be some things that are very difficult to represent from a extrapolation standpoint. How do you represent various systems? This has been a 2-hour stream now because of this rant at the end. I should record. I should download.
Imagine if Vector was here.
Oh, he would have left. Yeah. I kind of almost want to download this rant and see if I can do something with our debate here. Because it's a very interesting topic. It's one of the few things, that people really disagree on in relation to the game. So I think it could be interesting if I could find something, if I could manage to put something together with that. But, again, I keep forgetting to read the chat because I've got my head shoved so far up my own ass right now. Yeah, extra process. Always want more. Yep. Something that can likely be modded regardless. It's true. Mayo and Taxes did it before they could do it again. I'm sure there are plenty of systems that they will be revamping over time. Indeed, Hot Pocket. Look in the end. Someone will make a mod that does exactly what Dark wants, and who want to play that will install that mod. Probably. There's going to be mods for 2D portraits as well for similar reasons. Oh, that's an interesting thought. Imagine if, yeah, talking about, yeah, giving bonuses to like the estates liking you more if you develop their lands that are outside your areas of high control. That could be interesting. Hmm. Look at Saffron. Oh, dude, this 2-hour stream, we can't do Bohemia now. You said it was in wait, no, it wasn't
We could
Sav.
do
It wasn't
Bohemia.
Bohemia.
We could do the flavor on Friday.
It wasn't Bohemia that the Saffron was in. Where did you say that the Saffron was in? HRE redo. Okay. And don't say you'll give me $2, otherwise you're gonna tempt me to actually start making a membership thing.
Do it. Make membership. Channel membership.
I don't want to make memberships until I actually have something to do with it. the heck would I find this HRE redo? Okay, it should be. Oh wait, it should be like the map, right? HRE, so like Germany feedback. Is that new? Yeah. Give me -$2. Wait, that's not how that works. List of changes. The lower left of the goods map in France's Swiss border. All right, all right. First, is there anything that's this tags? 52 new tags.
Gurk! We have the tag of
Wait,
Gurk.
wait. Yeah, I saw Gurk as well. What the where? What the hell? I saw. Yeah, there's Gurk. I knew it. The Gray League and God's House League. Oh, they didn't have Mulhouse before? Oh God. Sheesh. They removed 18 tags. Zevin. Bobbingen. Hoff. Well, the HRE looking just as fabulous as ever. Oh,
Do we
boy.
still have the great nation of Die?
I hope so. I didn't see it in the list of.
No, I see it. I see the great nation of Die.
It was up here somewhere.
It's right next to the great nation of NIE. North.
There's
It's the
Die.
green one north.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. Oh, the Hanseatic League is showing up as a tag right now. Oh God. Oh God.
Oh
Sheesh.
no.
Hmm.
I remember they had that in in original EU4.
Yeah.
Then they broke it up.
Mm-hmm. That was funny. Alright, well, time to look at the...
Man wants to see his saffron.
He does. The nation of D's. Yeah, Rasak, every once in a while, it's like a monthly basis. I open up my GIMP file of my own equivalent of the HRE. I stick an image of the vanilla HRE next to it and judge it based on scale size, and then put a number of like, all right, the vanilla HRE has like 250 or something nations in it at game start. So it's like, all right, I need to have at least 50% more than that. And then I just start adding more. Oh God. Yeah.
HREIO.
Nice. Nice. The members. There's all the princes. It's a lot of
329.
129 members in the HRE. That's
Gotta keep working, Joffrey.
let me just I don't 50% more that I don't the hardest choices require the strongest of wills, man. The Concord much grow larger. Holy fuck. One spice good as stupid. Okay. Yeah, we'll get down to the spices. Mr. Saffron, you freaking Luxembourg. Love me Luxembourg family. Governments. Republics at the wazoo. And also lots of theocracies now and then. I do love the one theocracy in Silesia. How do you even play the Emperor in a game with this many nations? We don't know. They literally just haven't explained to us how the HRE works. So we've got no clue. Johan, okay, but the spice must flow. What? Hot Pocket is definitely the most out of pocket. It's pretty appropriate person that is in these streams. Oceanic. Yeah, northwest Germany's got pretty nice climate, at least. But as soon as you hit, no, some of Saxony, yeah, it's not bad. God, subtropical Po Valley is just that is funny.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way it was that way before.
Can't wait to make some population there, and the first game is Milan.
But isn't subtropical worse than oceanic?
Doubt it.
I think it is.
Doubt it. Because the Po Valley got a lot of people in this time period.
I think it's worse.
Unacceptable. If it is, it's wrong. Also, wait, all of India and like half of China is is subtropical.
Bring up the world again. We're just never.
And those places have a lot of people.
We will never look at the spice at this rate. All right. It was subtropical before, but yeah, tropic, subtropical. Yeah.
Well, okay, look at the Ganges. Tell me subtropical's bad.
I'm just saying worse than 100%.
Pop capacity.
No, it's better.
I told you, Milan first game.
Subtropical is better. The only thing better than it is Mediterranean. What the hell?
Italy is gonna be fucking loaded.
Damn. So that means this whole time I thought that China was like had a worse climate than France for some reason. But no, it's better. This is just that's really, really good.
Like I said, Italy is gonna be loaded.
That is stupid. That is stupid. Italy is like 50%. 50% Mediterranean climate and 30% subtropical.
And then there's an oceanic just in the middle. It's bad terrain is oceanic.
God, I love this farmland terrain. Look at all that farmland terrain in the Po Valley. Farmland subtropical. Oh.
And I know you love farmlands.
I do love farmlands. Here's the neat part, it doesn't. Saffron is an off-white as well, close to honey wax color. What the hell?
Alright, he wants to see the saffron.
He really wants to see the saffron, man. He's going off the deep. He's just saying "return to monkey," and he's talking about the color of saffron, dude.
All right. Let's give him what he wants.
Where's the hot cultures? Culture. Okay.
Oh lord. Oh lord.
Beeswax.
Bees. I see saffron.
When Hot Pocket said close to honey wax color, I didn't think that he meant like the color it is in game. Because I did not in any world think that beeswax was going to be a resource.
I see saffron and I see beeswax, and those look like they're the exact same color. I'm not gonna lie.
In what the fuck is beeswax used for in this game?
Fucking candles. I don't know.
Dude, like what? And here I was thinking, like, dark. I wonder what are we gonna do with like custom resources for the mod? It's like, it's gotta be really justified, to make it worth it. And then it's honey wax, fucking
candles. Gotta make candles, man.
Dude, fuck, man. What the fuck do you need? Where in game are you gonna be like? And you need the candles. You make sure you have candles. Like what? The church? Probably. Just
nothing a good old torch can't do.
So, Yeah, saffron. There's just saffron there. What did 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 Hot Pocket? Did you see this building posted yesterday? No, it was a couple days ago. Did you see this image get posted earlier in the week? And you just scoured the whole thing? Like, what possessed you to scour the resource map of all things of like the HRE feedback? Someone mentioned it in a Lambert video. Fucking Lambert video. Oh, I remember when I used to watch that, dude. Different times, different times. Oh god, is that a wall? That's just one wall. That looks like a province I'd make. Jeez. Yuck. But in a good
Now,
way.
wheat and gold are identical. You can see that,
Yes.
cut
That's
like in
fine.
Bohemia, where there's a wheat and gold right next to each other. They're a little different.
Nothing like how close wild game and sand are. Wild game and sand are
Saffron and
unconscionably the same.
beeswax.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Saffron and beeswax. Honestly, they probably are the exact same color. I bet they are the exact same color because they're experimental trade goods and they haven't assigned them colors yet because they don't know. They don't know if they're going to use them.
Me my spice.
Look at. Yes, you can still see. You can still see. Those a few Waldensians were added to Austria. That is fun. There's some provinces that have a large minority of Waldensians in there, and you can still see the Waldensians in the Alps, the Arpitan. Yeah, that's fun. The dominant. I do love the dominant language, the court language rather. The
I wonder where the theocracies are.
yeah. I wonder where the theocracies are. It's hard to tell. Maybe the court language map will help figure out where the theocracies are, huh? Hmm. Of course, Frisian. I saw the other day that apparently the Frisian freedom, because that's the name of the tag, is like an actual concept. That like in history that there was this notion that the Frisians had some like rights passed down to them from Charlemagne for some bullshit when he conquered the empire, and like people are almost certain it was entirely made up by the Frisians, but people just let them have their freedoms anyway because they're so out of the way and they're swamp people. Oh, Sorbian is its own. Because wait, languages. So these are language. Yeah, like it's German language. And then you get Frisian language, yeah, and then fucking Gallo-Italic. Oh, gods. Gallo-Italic. Oh. Oh. And then you have the dialects. Yeah. Low, middle, high German. The rare middle German. That is. Whoa. Oh, my grandfather, bless his soul, would have been so happy to see the day that anyone
Middle
mentioned
German.
Middle German. Theocracy's trying not to tell everyone their theocracy's challenge impossible. The vapors of the government types. Oh, God. Venetian is its own dialect. Rhaetian. Rhaetian dialect is a thing. That is great. It's so split up. It's all scattered around the Alps. And Arpitan too. Is it called French? Oh my gosh. There is actually a dialect that is just French.
French.
Oh man.
And
Well,
Dutch is literally just German.
yes.
It
I
is
mean,
just a dialect of German.
I mean,
Completely same language.
don't tell Valar, but I mean, I
True.
mean,
Does that mean that when Yako speaks Afrikaans, he's just speaking a dialect of German?
at that point, hell no. But like, uh, the difference between Dutch and German probably isn't that much of a difference between Ukrainian and Russian. Next stop,
Probably.
nutmeg. Hell yeah. Actually, I say that, but I don't like nutmeg, so French should just be the Paris dialect. Well, they call it French presumably because like the whole language is French. Um, they call the whole language is French, and then they call the dialect that like of the Francian and some other cultures the French dialect. Because the dialects are primarily they're going to be used for like title flavor and stuff, where stuff is slightly different, and the reason they've called it the French dialect is presumably because the other ones don't exist anymore, and the Paris French is the one that won out. So because of that, unlike high, middle, and low German, because the it's not like Brandenburg is the fucking center of the German language or some shit. To
Yeah.
this day, it's still split.
As we know, high, middle, and low refers to the quality of the people speaking it. So as we know, high German speakers are simply superior to low German speakers.
Or if you ask Goat, he'd say that they're baked.
I don't even know what that means.
High.
Uh-huh.
Why don't you?
Okay.
You don't have baked? You don't have baked in Texas? What?
No, we do. It's just I thought you were I didn't think you'd reference like fucking drugs.
But okay, well, I said goat. I did
Guess.
qualify it with goat, so you should know. You're better than that. Be better, stronger. Anyway, what are we doing?
Oh, we'd be better.
Do we? Are we done? I think we should be
wrap
done
up, yeah.
because this has been long. This is long. I didn't think we were going to be doing this long. I guess we'll have to get to Bohemia another time. Fuck me.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to it on Friday.
Right. Well, in that case, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Yes, it was nice chatting with you too. Good, yes. Bye-bye. Lovelies.